Oh, and good morning, everybody. Good morning. I'm so glad you guys took the time to come today. I know, as we said, there's other things we all could have been doing, but I have to tell you that the Lord introduced me to the personalities over 2 decades ago. And I am so, so thankful because not only did it change my life for the better, but I feel like it saved my family as well. And so my name is Rhonda Werda, and I am married to Pastor Jeff Werda. I think most of you heard him yesterday. And so I'm just going to give a little bit of my testimony so you guys can have an idea of who's up here. So Jeff and I have been married for 29 years, and we've been in the ministry for over 20 years. And I came from a completely unchurched family. In fact, my sister and I have a younger sister. She's 4 years younger than me. We would get together throughout the years and we would crack up. We felt like we were raised by wolves. We're surprised that we actually survived our childhood. I come from a family that they were middle class family. Most of them worked in GM or Buick or something, but they were all drinkers. I come from a long line of drinking, divorce, gambling, abuse, just like a lot of us unfortunately come from. So it's no different for me. And I came to Christ when I was about 27 years old. And I had a 1.5-year-old at that time, my son Evan. And Evan is the groom in this. So let me see if I know where that. Hey, Justin, what one is the pointer? I don't want to actually. Is it the one with the green line in the middle? Okay. Oh, yeah. So right here, this is Evan's wedding. This is my oldest. Evan married beautiful Brooke, and he already had Nathan. And since then, they've had baby Henry, who is 2, and she's currently pregnant. We don't know if we're going to get a girl or not. And then this guy right here, this is Evan's brother, Aaron. This is mine and Jeff's son. But if you would to ever see Jeff with Evan, sometimes Jeff will be like, well, no, he's actually my stepson. People don't even believe him. So they'll say to Jeff, no, no. But anyways, this is my family right here. This is my precious husband who got to marry both of our sons. What a beautiful gift. This is our adopted daughter, Coral, who has now lost 180 pounds. Yeah, she's done fantastic. And this is her children and her children's dad right there. And this is Aaron's beautiful little wife, Meredith. And it's really something because this guy and this guy both have similar personalities, but Aaron and I are exactly the same. We are what you would call popular sanguines and powerful calorics. And with the test that I will have you guys do, you will understand those terms more. And that's one reason why I liked people to do the test, because when I am talking and we're engaging, you actually have an idea of how God hardwired you from the beginning of our life. And you will understand more the characteristics, the strengths, and the weaknesses we'll discuss. So I got over 2 decades ago, I went to a women's retreat, an Adventist women's retreat in Iowa, Missouri conference, and Florence Littauer was the keynote speaker for the weekend. And she was all about personalities. And I'd really never had the concept of what personalities meant. I'd never been introduced to it at all. And so while we're sitting in the audience and she's talking about strong personalities and mild personalities, all of a sudden it hits me that I have a very strong personality and I'm a bully. And I really didn't realize I was a bully. I thought other people were bullies, but me, a bully? And yes, I was. Not only was I a bully, I'd been a bully for who knows how long. And sometimes we think of bullies as the kid on the playground beating people up, pushing people around. But I found out as an adult, you can be a bully in other ways. You're still pushing people around, but it looks different because we're adults. And sometimes as an adult, we feel like we have the right to push people around. We feel like we have the right to tell people when they're doing it wrong and how they're doing it wrong, and etc. So after I realized that I was a bully, God really started working on my heart. And I thought, well, Lord, I want to be a woman after God's heart. I don't want to be a bully. So I realized I had to take the personality education seriously. And so that's what I did. Hi, welcome everybody. Hi, come on in. You haven't missed too much, just giving my little testimony on who I am and how I got introduced to the personalities to begin with. And while I was in the seminar, God revealed to me over 2 decades ago that I was a bully. And so he started dealing with me from there. But you know what's funny is that one of my hobbies is reading. And she had a whole table of books for sale on Sunday morning. And I thought, no, I'm not going to buy a book. I have tons of books. I'm not going to buy a book. And so I didn't. And so I get home a week later, I go to the public library and I rent one. I rent one of her books. And as I'm starting to read that book, and it's called actually How to Get Along with Anyone, and I have to tell you, I have, How to Get Along with Anybody, almost anybody. I have repurchased this book at least 24 times because after I rented it, I had to buy it. And after I bought it and read it and went through it and tested everything out on my family, I gave it away. And then I had to buy it again. And then I've given it away again. And then I've had to buy it again. I have purchased and given that book out so many times. But it's been such a benefit. So when I got home and copied off some tests and everything with my family, I realized my husband and I were pretty opposite in our personality types. And it really starts to help you recognize how you will be in conflict with other people when you don't understand who they are. But most of all, I would be in conflict because I really did not understand myself. And so I was at a complete advantage to not only learn about me and how I was hardwired, my good characteristics, but also my bad characteristics. And as time went on and I gave my family the test and we started doing all this, I also realized that I was raised with natural tendencies from my parents in their weaknesses as well. And so that is something that we do, right? We have these weaknesses and these strengths. But a lot of times we will find that we are raising our family or we are dealing with our significant other from our weaknesses. And then our kids pick them up, and then their kids pick them up. And so by understanding my strengths, my family's strengths, we taught it to our children. And what's really something about these, all three of them, that's Aaron, that's Evan, and that's Coral. All three of them not only studied the personalities, they can walk into a job and in about 2 minutes, they know exactly what personality types they're working with. And they will come home. This guy worked in the hospital in an emergency room and had a charge nurse that was a powerful personality like mine, like his. He's got a slice of powerful caloric in him. But she was older, she was bitter, she was mean, she was ornery. She was in her late 50s, and she was about done with everybody. And he came home, and finally he said, I won her over. And he said that the nurse said to him one day, Aaron, you are the best worker I've got here. You are the best guy that I've got here. I like you so much. And this is while he has watched her yelling other nurses down, other interns, but he waited because he knew she wanted you to listen, not make any excuses, get your job done, show up on time. He did all that for her. And she ended up adoring him. She loved him to pieces. So my testimony about the personalities is that it has changed my life, my husband's life, my family's life. And each one of my kids have taught it to their spouses as well. I'm actually going to have you read a story. My husband's going to read a story for us. And so my beautiful daughter-in-law, Meredith, the one next to Erin, she wrote this for one of her college classes. She's going to be a psychologist, a family therapist. She's on her way. She's getting ready to do her doctorate program. And when she met Erin at what was the name of the campus they were on in Canada? I can't remember. Berman. Yeah, so Erin went to an Adventist university in Canada. And he met Meredith. So she's an Adventist, he's an Adventist, but she was on the outs with her mother, who was a strong personality like I am. She's a milder personality called a peaceful phlegmatic. So she's peaceful and a perfect melancholy. She likes to do things right. She's loyal. She's not really loud. She meets Erin, who's my personality, outgoing, confrontive, sanguine, choleric, right? And so together, we helped her with her relationship with her mother. And where are you going, babe? Oh, okay. And so I'm going to have Jeff read this story that she wrote about the personality types. And I've shared it a couple times before. I hope you guys really enjoy it. I may interject a bit, husband, but I'll try to let you do your thing. So Meredith is, I know it, see? So I have a mic. So I know it. Meredith is gray. And when she's talking about gray, she's talking about her phlegmatic, peaceful personality.
So she entitled this story, Gleaming, Glistening Gray. People used to adore Phlegmatic. They used to compliment his mother continuously, telling her she had the sweetest baby, that he was so quiet and well-behaved. Comparatively, Phlegmatic was an easygoing kid. Sanguine was too all over the place. Melancholy was too emotional. And choleric, well, he was always mad. Mm-hmm. People envied Phlegmatic's mom. All he would do was sit, stay, and be off on his own, in his own little world. You wouldn't even notice he was there. However, it all changed rather quickly. Everyone was starting to earn their colors. Sanguine, she was the life of the party. She made friends with absolutely anyone. She was the most noticeable. Her color was a radiating yellow. Melancholy was a perfectionist, the kind of kid that gets straight A's. But she was also way too emotional. And it seemed as if and her color was dreary blue. Choleric was loud and in charge. He always was the leader, and it seemed as if the only emotion he had was anger. His color was a commanding red. As everybody else was getting their colors, Phlegmatic was waiting patiently, anticipating what color he would be. But he wasn't given one. He remained unnoticeably gray. It wasn't as if Phlegmatic didn't have any talents or wasn't likable. It was that he was just there. No one really bothered including him into things. But it wasn't like they purposefully excluded him either. For the most part, he was just fine being on his own. But oftentimes, he wondered why most weren't interested in being his friend. As Phlegmatic got older, he started to catch wind of what people thought of him. Many just figured that he was lazy, and that was the reason he never did anything. Others didn't even know who he was. They had never even noticed him. And still, some thought that he was just a bland person, that he didn't have much to him. He pondered to himself, maybe he was just a nobody. He just fell into the cracks. And maybe he thought he belonged there. Time and time again, he would be stifled, talked down to, yelled at, and treated as if he was an incompetent, nitwitted person. Phlegmatic's gray color would get duller and dimmer as soon as at the same time those around him was becoming brighter. One afternoon, while Phlegmatic was sitting on a cold metal bench alone for lunch, Sanguine noticed him sharing his lunch bread with a flock of sparrows. Intrigued about why anyone would decide to sit by themselves, Sanguine cheerfully walked over and sat beside him. Phlegmatic's eyes danced back and forth, looking at Sanguine, then back at the birds, then back at Sanguine. Humored by his awkwardness, Sanguine took the initiative to speak first. She had always wondered why Phlegmatic was never given a color, but it seemed a little invasive to be the first thing out of her mouth. So instead, she asked him why he was sitting all alone. He was confused as to why she would ask. Wasn't it obvious? He clearly had no friends and was a total nobody. For the first time, Sanguine wasn't interested in where the party was at. She wasn't interested in the fact that all her friends were on the other side of the field laughing and having fun. Sanguine's heart went out to Phlegmatic. Then and there, she knew that there was someone that needed her help, but most of all, needed her friendship. The question about why Phlegmatic never received a color was still gnawing away in Sanguine's mind. As graciously as she possibly could, she blurted it out. In utter humiliation and embarrassment, she quickly apologized for her tactlessness. By the way, I just messed up a word. It's supposed to be as gracelessly as she possibly could. She blurted it out. In utter humiliation and embarrassment, she quickly apologized for her tactlessness. Half-heartedly, Phlegmatic explained that he never knew or understood why and how he envied the fact that others vibrantly had their colors. Deep down, Phlegmatic envied Sanguine the most. Everyone loved Sanguine, and everyone wanted to be Sanguine's friend. The desire of having a true friend lingered with him for as long as he could remember. Every lunch hour after that day, Sanguine sat with Phlegmatic on the bench feeding the sparrows. They talked and laughed and had a great time. Sanguine quickly started to realize that Phlegmatic had more to him than what she or anyone else would have thought. He was funny, kind-hearted, caring, intelligent, and capable of anything he really put his mind to. But Phlegmatic didn't think of himself like that. Over the years, he adapted to the mentality that everyone else had about him. He had been stifled so much in his life that he would never allow himself to reach his full potential. Every day, he would see his color fade and become dimmer. However, there were many valuable qualities and characteristics that Phlegmatic had. It was difficult for Phlegmatic to accept the fact that Sanguine was slowly becoming his friend. He had trouble being confident doing certain things and activities in front of someone so perfect in his eyes. He had built his little world in a suffocating bubble that he was unable to escape. Not that he particularly felt comfortable escaping. The bubble was what he had always known. And he was comfortable being stagnant. Undoubtedly, he wanted more. A little sliver in his mind knew that he wanted more and that he was so much more. Yet every time he dared to venture out, he was suppressed and silenced by those who thought little of him. Hours, days, and months had passed, and Phlegmatic and Sanguine would spend every free waking minute with each other. They were perfect friends. Others began to notice Phlegmatic as well. Sanguine asked why he had never taken the time to disprove or explain to others why he was not what everyone dismissed him to be. It was quite simple, really. Phlegmatic absolutely hated confrontation. Therefore, he would never really speak his mind or give out his opinion. With people in the world like Melancholy and Choleric, giving your opinion would only offend someone or create an argument, which was always something that he avoided. Phlegmatic used this avoidance method in a plethora of situations. He would never send back food, walk away from controversial debates, or easily agree with someone just to get them to shut up. It was continuously an uncomfortable situation to be in. That was absolutely no way to live, so the Sanguine set a plan in motion. However, she couldn't do it on her own. She grabbed the only other person that could help, Choleric. Together, they created a super team that would get Phlegmatic where he needed to be. Ironically, the people that he didn't think were needed were exactly what was needed to stretch the Phlegmatic to his potential. Sanguine understood him remarkably well. Very tactfully, when the opportunity presented itself, Sanguine and Choleric would push Phlegmatic out of his comfort zone. Always knowing when enough was enough, Sanguine deliberately started to poke holes in the little bubble that Phlegmatic created for himself. Sanguine would help Phlegmatic try new things and have fun experiences, which was something that he had always wanted to do, but never had the courage or the motivation to do. On the other end of the tag team was Choleric. He would talk in lieu of Phlegmatic. Choleric would show him the ropes on how to demand what you truly want, something that Phlegmatic had avoided his whole life. Quicker than anyone had anticipated, Phlegmatic grasped on to what Sanguine and Choleric were teaching him. Sanguine was right. There were so many qualities that Phlegmatic was hiding underneath the surface. There were so many things that he was missing out on and had missed out on in life. However, they were all very different. Phlegmatic came to realize that although what they were teaching him were right and true, he needed it to work for him. So Phlegmatic started to customize the techniques to work with his easygoing personality. Sometimes things weren't worth sending back or talking about, something that Choleric didn't understand. And other times, fun wasn't necessary to have a good time, something that Sanguine always needed. Phlegmatic started to come up from the cracks that he had fallen into. Instead of always being by himself, he began to socialize with those who never really understood him, breaking the mold of the old ideas about him and replacing them with the truth. He became more confident in himself and was unapologetic for being so. He was no longer ashamed for not being given a color, but rather wore his gray with gusto. All the others had judged Phlegmatic prematurely. They all had a prejudicial opinion of him. Sanguine, choleric, and eventually melancholy were able to decry their wrongful actions toward Phlegmatic. All these previous notions had hindered, stifled, and crippled Phlegmatic to fall into the weakness he was predisposed to. As time went on, Phlegmatic's dull color started to shine brighter and brighter. Once he was able to show his true self, people began to discover the luster and luminosity that radiated off the Phlegmatic. He was no longer the unnoticeable outcast, but rather fit right in. People adored Phlegmatic. When Phlegmatic walked into the room, everyone was happy to see him. He was so easygoing, witty, pleasant, and friendly. When he was around Sanguine, he was fun. Around Melancholy, he was consistent. And around Choleric, he was unproblematic. He was well balanced with everyone. Their perfect friend. Little did everyone know the potential hidden deep inside Phlegmatic. In fact, Phlegmatic didn't know himself. Although his color did not change, he was unbothered by that fact. He was gray for a special reason, and he understood that now. So did everyone else. His ashen, dull, somber, dingy gray metamorphosized into a gleaming, glistening gray.
Thank you, honey. I appreciate that. Oh, it actually almost makes me cry because why my precious daughter-in-law put herself as a he with Phlegmatic and wrote as my son a she as the Sanguine. I don't know, but she was writing it for college, and I was invited several years ago to be the keynote at another Adventist women's retreat, and she just gotten done with this paper and had me read it. And the thing that touches my heart the most is that I have witnessed year after year loving parents, loving spouses, just really stomp the luster out of the ones they love the most. And this is what had happened to my beautiful daughter-in-law, Meredith, is that she had a very strong mother, her mother was very strong personality. And because you heard her, how she described the choleric, right, as angry all the time. And we know those people. You may be a powerful choleric yourself. Most of the time, a powerful choleric can run angry. At least we seem angry to others, actually. And you know what? A lot of the times we're really not. But we are so passionate. We're so outspoken, and we are quick with an opinion. We're also quick to help you, quick to serve. But a lot of times that gets misconstrued for bossy and pushy. And a lot of times people will try to stay maybe away from the powerful personality. But our heart's desire is to be helpful, to help you get it done, to help you change whatever needs to be changed. You're in a bad relationship, you need pulled out of a bad relationship, call me, right? I am there. I have been blessed to help women get out of horrible relationships, help them recognize you can go back to school. You can switch that job and get a better job. I've got testimony and friends that just say the most beautiful things to me because they were not afraid of my powerful assertiveness. I was able to use those gifts because I recognized I had them first, though. So I recognized what my gifts were, what my strengths were of my personality type, and that I wasn't afraid to help somebody and stand by them while they made serious upgrades in their life and in their relationships. So for me, when you see me up here, I'm not just up here saying, oh, this is interesting material. Everybody should know a little bit about this. I am up here telling you, I live this material and I've been living it. And I can honestly tell you, besides with my husband, because he's so difficult, I haven't had a conflict with really anybody else in 20 years. I don't know what it is about spouses, right? It's like it's the person you want to spend the most time with, but sometimes you step on each other's toes. But we will just look at each other and say, you're being ignorant. No, you're being ignorant. Okay, well, let's stop. But with the material, I can honestly tell you, because I've taken the time to understand other people now and understand they are not like me and they don't have to be like me. But I understand them in a way where I'm like, what are your strengths? What fabulous qualities do you have? And let me appreciate that. Because in the ministry, fortunately, I've been able to be in charge of maybe women's ministries, health ministries, prayer ministries. And because I am a yellow popular sanguine, I like a team. I am an extrovert. Sanguines are extroverts. We like people. I am a powerful caloric. I get energized by people. I love people. I love groups. I love to do ministries. I like to have parties. I like to host. I'm doing VBS when I get back home. So this is in my wheelhouse. It's in my strengths. And I really had to understand it to realize I can do these things through Christ. I really can. Well, my precious husband, on the other hand, has a slice of introvert in him, right? Does he want somebody over 24/7? No. Does he always want to talk? No. He gets his energy back by having some more peaceful downtimes. Too many peaceful downtimes makes me a little depressed because I get my energy by people. So when they asked me several years ago, actually it's been a long time now, to be a greeter at the door, the nominating committee thought you would be perfect to greet at the door. You're friendly, you're outgoing, you like everybody. Some precious little lady calls me and says, no, I'm sorry, I have to turn that down. And she really just didn't understand. What do you mean you have to turn that down? She didn't get it. My family kind of didn't understand it. But I knew myself now. I'd known myself for a while. And I realized the reason I don't make a good greeter at the door is because I'm a sanguine and I can't hold still. You can't keep me at the door. Why? I will follow my friends wherever they're going. Right. My friends come in, they're going to class. I go with them. Somebody comes in and they don't know where the children classes are or the young adult classes are. I will take them and I won't come back to the door because I will get caught up talking, being in conversation. So if I didn't know myself like I do, I might have accepted that job. But you know what? It would have been a disappointment to the people who want that greeter to stay at that door, which I understand. The greeter's job is really to stay at the door most of the time, right? We all know that. You want your greeter at the door. You want them welcoming. You want them handing out the bulletin and directing people to their classes. I don't want to disappoint people. I want to do my jobs correctly. I need to be in a position where I can do my best. And by understanding myself as well as I do, I knew greeter wasn't the job for me. I do much better. What? You have to be. That's by Hippocrates. Yep, I do well in the kitchen, a group, right? I can work, I can talk, I can interact. So we're going to go ahead and Oh, well, yeah, same language, different terms. So let me touch on this because you've probably all have heard people say things about their personality type. You have the 9 personality type test out there. You have Myers-Briggs out there. You might have heard somebody say one time, I'm an otter, or I'm a lion, or my personality color is red. So, yep. So I want to tell you, I have done them all of these personality tests. You come to my house with a couple of my friends back in Missouri, and we will have a personality party. We break it all out. We break out the books. We break out the tests. We're doing Myers Briggs. We're doing the tests you guys are going to take. And we get together and we just talk about it. And we talk about each other and our strengths and our weaknesses and give testimony. I mean, I love it. I love to host. I love to have people over. I love to have events. And this right here just always brings people together. So whether you've taken a test in the past and you're like, well, I'm an FJD Z off the Myers-Briggs, or I am a red. If you're a red, you could be a lion, you could be the powerful caloric. So, it is the same language, just different terms. So everything you're going to learn here, you will definitely be able to actually have a language with whoever you're talking to that has knowledge of the personality types. So anyways, everybody's got their folder. We're going to go ahead and do the test. And so in your folders, you'll see you have the personality test. And like I have up here, be honest and thoughtful with yourself. You will see a lot of words on the test. And then when you get to the weaknesses of your character, you know what? I find that melancholies have a hard time checking anything that sounds negative because they're perfect melancholies. What? Oh, okay. Is this one? Oh, but I really want you to be honest. And if you don't know, ask whoever you came with. You know, I'm always trying to take this test and get myself to have some great characteristics and melancholy. And I'll say to my husband, aren't I this or aren't I that, which are melancholy? He's like, no, not at all. But I so badly want some melancholy traits because I admire them so much. So, and when you pull out the test, um, it'll tell you. So you go across the top right here, and so the test might say check one word, but I've often found out that you can check two if they really fit you well, because it will help you determine your primary personality type and your secondary. So you go across the top and check what you feel does describe you, not what people say about you, not what people have placed on you, but what you truly think is your characteristic. And then you'll go across and then you'll have another page and you'll add it all up. And then on the last page, it'll total and it'll give us your primary personality and your secondary. And one of the green sheets is a definition list for all of the words. So it's this right here. And the reason why it's kind of good to pull this out, your definition list, is because down in here, I think it's question 40, may have across that row, crafty in it. It does. And I have to tell you, folks, that is not that I'm handy with a glue gun. Okay, so crafty actually means shrewd, one who can always find a way to get the desired end. And so that's why it's kind of nice to go ahead and look over the definition as you go so that you're actually answering it correctly. And I'm thinking maybe 15 minutes. What do you think when you look at it? 15 minutes? We'll see where everybody is in 15.